populated by numerous organisms. There are so many of them that even counting all is practically impossible. So how do we study them? Classifying the organisms in various groups helps a great deal. The collective study of similar organisms simplifies the task. That's because studying common characteristics saves our time. Imagine studying more than 1,000 different birds. That would take so many years. But studying the common characters of birds, like hollow bones, presence of wings, feathers, habits, and habitats, would definitely simplify our learning. That's the reason why classifying organisms is extremely important for studying them. This system is not new. Classification of various organisms has been carried out since ages. Aristotle tried to classify organisms into two major classes, plants and animals. The groups contain all types of plants and animals. These were further divided into subgroups. Plants were divided in three subgroups based on their height, tall, medium, or short. In other words, as trees, shrubs, and herbs. Animals, on the other hand, were classified on the basis of their habitat as living on land, living in water, or those able to fly in air. This system was simultaneously supported by Carl Linnaeus, who also developed the two-kingdom classification system. He as well classified organisms into kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. However, he studied further to divide the kingdoms into 5 more levels. A system consisting of class, order, genus, species, and variety. Both these systems helped in their own way to classify the various organisms known then. However, with time, as newer organisms were discovered, it was getting difficult to place them in these two groups. Where do you think prokaryotic organisms should be placed? Characteristics like structure, presence of cell wall, mode of nutrition, habitat, and so many other parameters raised several questions which remain unanswered with these systems. Thus, there emerged the need of developing a new system that could categorize all the various organisms appropriately. R.H. Whitaker, an American scientist, came up with an excellent system of classifying organisms. He put forth a 5-kingdom classification system. Want to know more about what were the kingdoms put forth by him? We have learned that R.H. Whitaker, an American scientist, came up with an excellent system of classifying organisms. He put forth the 5-kingdom classification system, which helped classify various organisms easily. The 5 kingdoms that he suggested were Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. Let's begin studying about these kingdoms. It's Kingdom Monera first on the list. These are the simplest of all organisms. The kingdom harbors a variety of microorganisms which belong to the prokaryotic category. Cells which do not have well-defined membrane system. They lack a proper nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. The genetic material in these organisms is scattered throughout the cytoplasm. And what is that referred to? It's called the nucleoid. Subtypes of this class include archaea bacteria and eubacteria. Archaea are the most primitive forms found even in extreme environmental conditions like hot springs and the Dead Sea. Eubacteria are the true forms of bacteria that are present everywhere around us. These are the beneficial ones as well as the harmful parasitic ones. So, all the bacteria in general are included in the kingdom Monera. The next kingdom on our list is Protista. After the prokaryotic unicellular Monera, the kingdom Protista contains organisms which are unicellular but eukaryotic. That is, slightly ahead on the scale of evolution. Protists have a well-defined cell system. They have a proper membrane-bound nucleus and organelles as well. Apart from the usual organelles, protists also have specialized structures like the single flagellum or several cilia. These structures help in locomotion of the single cell. So, which organisms are included in this list? Unicellular organisms like amoeba, animals included in this category. The cottony grows on stale food, the blackish plants on wet walls are all our daily life encounters with various fungi. These are microscopic organisms which are eukaryotic in nature. They have a well-defined cell wall which is usually made up of a complex sugar named chitin. The cells are generally multicellular at certain stages in their lives. This typical structure of a fungus shows the presence of a bag-like structure called sporangium containing the fungal spores. This, the fungal stalk, is made up of thin thread-like structures called the hyphae. Together, these hyphae form a network which is called the mycelium. The fungal body is usually divided into three parts as head, stalk, and roots. Some fungi also have a symbiotic association with other organisms. Lichens is a brilliant example of one such symbiotic association of fungi and algae. After these microscopic organisms, we have multicellular organisms on the list. The next kingdom is that of plants. Formerly called the kingdom Plantae, it harbors the various tiny as well as the gigantic plants. And what's the last kingdom?